That's where it is. That's beautiful. Where is it?
Or you have to click. You have to
Yeah,
click the
I know.
camera.
Wasn't that fabulous picture?
Yeah. I'm guessing.
If that's steep enough, I would love to dive off that cliff.
That's all right, I'll pass.
You should have joined me on New Year's Day at the polar bear plunge.
Tommy doesn't do
Apparently
cold
we like to swim in the ocean in
All
July.
right. Are we ready? Are they ready in there? All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Rye Town Council meeting of January 16th, 2025. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, bless this assembly, grant us the wisdom to make every decision fair-minded and the best interests of all its residents. Amen.
Hope-
with us on the Zoom?
I don't think so. I think she's in the airplane.
Okay, so Councilperson Pamela Jackson.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, Councilperson Joe Axelrod.
Present.
Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Present.
Councilperson Randy Sellier.
Present.
And Supervisor Gary Zuckerman.
Here.
Thank you.
Adoption of minutes of December the 12th, 2024. If there are no objections or corrections, may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Our next item is a presentation, the CGR report on the Town of Rye Court facilities. Are they ready to go? All right, let me just preface this with a little background. We've been aware for quite some time that the court facilities were not adequate. As a matter of fact, neither the town office is at Grace Church Street. However, matters became urgent when our administrative judge advised us that not only were the facilities not adequate, but that he had to declare a mistrial in a criminal case, largely because of those inadequacies. Before committing to a course of action that would result in considerable expense, the town council determined that a study of current court facilities was not only advisable, but necessary. The council retained CGR Incorporated, the firm that performed the court dissolution study for the village of Portchester, and is therefore already familiar with the court facility. In that report, that ultimately resulted in the dissolution of the court and its absorption by the town of Rye Court, it said, court facilities will still need to be modernized, regardless of whether the Portchester Justice Court dissolves. We've been told that the Office of Court Administration has long been urging the community to improve the physical court facility. Eventually, OCA's requirements must be addressed. And with that background, introduce yourself, please, and make your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Paul Bishop. I'm a principal with CGR. I have been a part of CGR for the last 12 years, and I am the leader of our local government and public safety practice. And with me this evening is my colleague, Alina.
Hi, I'm Elena Santiago. I'm a research associate with CGR. I've been with CGR for about 2 years now.
And I'm going to share our presentation that really distills down our methodology and what we found over the course of the really the last month. So this first picture is a zoom in of the bench, the dais, and the relatively new Town of Rye Court sign. You'll see in some of the pictures that we have an older version of the sign as well. So our methodology, we conducted 11 interviews with court staff and other stakeholders. Some of those interviews had more than one person in them by virtue of the different positions. So for example, when we met with the court security, there were several of the staff in the room. We reviewed the site plan. There were some videos that were provided to us, so we knew what we were looking for ahead of our visit, and photographs of the courthouse. And then on Friday, January the 3rd, I was visited the town court and had a detailed tour of the facility and observed the court while it was in session. And everyone who I met with that day told me it was a light day with only about 105 cases scheduled on the calendar. Typically, it's in the 120 to 140 range. Next couple of slides cover our observations. The first one I want to lead off with is the current court facilities are inadequate for the town's needs. This is based heavily on the large caseload, the number of people that are in and out of the facility on a typical day of court. One of the other aspects that really jumped out to us is there is only one means of egress from the second floor for the public and any of the court staff. There is a secondary exit that only a select number of people have keys to. They may not be there at the time it's needed, and that's therefore a safety hazard for multiple different reasons. And then, as noted, there was the mistrial, and that has to do with how the jury room is set up. It's too small for the number of people that it would have, plus the other things that are in there. That's a photograph of the jury room that you can see there. It would normally have to have seats for the 6 people on the jury, plus a couple of alternates. It is used for a file storage room. Right now, there's about 60 file boxes in there that you don't see on this picture. And it's also the attorney-client meeting room, and certain other aspects of it about its ability to be accessible without having to go through the gallery are important. You should be able to access it without going through the gallery. And in this case, you have to walk through the entire courtroom to get to the jury room. There's no private space for the attorneys and clients to meet. Clearly, these are sensitive matters that they're discussing, whether they're someone who is trying to meet with a prosecutor about the infraction or a defendant trying to meet with their attorney. There's no place for them to meet except for that jury room, and it's a very busy space when we're there. And the courtroom gallery is too small. There are only 60 seats available, and when you have a caseload over 100, it just doesn't work that way. Routinely, there are people standing. Every seat was taken for most of the time I was there on the late court day.
Yeah, so some other observations that we had include that access to public spaces seems to comply with ADA guidelines. There's a ramp, there's an appropriately sized doorways, an elevator. However, there are some things that could be improved, such there's a lack of braille signage. Some of the door handles seem to be inappropriate, and then the bathroom is not totally accessible. It should be noted that our evaluation was not an ADA audit, but these requirements will need to be considered in any future court facility. The parking for the court facilities is limited. While the court is located in the central business district and is convenient to public transportation, there is very little parking available. And building staff, attorneys, litigants have to find public parking nearby. So any future court should consider the needs for both parking and access to public transit. The court's co-location with the Port Chester Police Department creates some operational efficiencies. This includes, having defendants in custody, the availability of officers to provide for court security, and if there's a need for off-hour arraignments. The judge's chamber is inadequate. It is too small. It's 135 square feet, and it's often also used for hearings with youth defendants. their families, their attorneys, and New York State Section 34 says that judge chambers should be at least 200 square feet and have space either in the office or an adjacent conference room with at least 20 square feet per person. So this current chamber is inadequate. It's also shared by 4 judges. They also share one desk, and that can create some scheduling challenges. The heating and ventilation within the court facility is inadequate. It's antiquated, and there's insufficient cooling and ventilation can create uncomfortable temperatures, so too hot in the summer, too cold in the winter, and some of the equipment that does the heating and ventilation can be quite noisy. The signage in public areas also needs to be improved. It often lacks clear information. Public often asks where they need to go when entering the court facilities. And there is a security officer who often directs them at the top of the stairs to where they need to go. Also, signs aren't all bilingual. Some are just in English. Court facility spaces cannot be further renovated. In a reasonable manner, that is. When the town of Rye absorbed the functionality of the Village of Portchester Court, it renovated those office spaces on the 2nd floor and lost some of the space on the 1st floor. It's an 85-year-old building and cannot be renovated any further than the town's current or recent renovations that were made. The security screening area is also too small. Where visitors come in through the main doors is where the security screenings happen. And there's not much space for security officers to maneuver, and that presents risks to both staff and visitors. There's only one person that can be safely screened at a time, with others waiting outside regardless of the weather as well. And sometimes when exceptions are made, that can create an overcrowded screening area, and sometimes the equipment can malfunction because of the crowding. The courtroom's capacity is also insufficient. It's listed to have a capacity of 99 people, which is too few for the number of people that could be expected to be in the space during a busy court session. It can vary greatly depending on the session and who needs to speak with an attorney, but overall 99 people is too few for what is reasonably expected during court session. So our conclusion is just that the current space is not sufficient, and since it cannot be further modified than it already has been, the town of Rye should strongly consider investing in a new justice court facility. The new facility would need to be a safer environment for employees and the public, and should meet the current state guidelines for a justice court. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you. Questions from the council? No? Thank you for that presentation. At this time, I'd like to have a resolution which is prepared, simply accepting the report.
So moved.
Second.
Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. At this time, normally, we would entertain comments on non-agenda items, but I know that before we get to the resolutions, I know that there are people here who would like to speak to this issue, and I would be happy to entertain that. This is not a public hearing. However, in the interest of clarity, if anybody would like to speak to regarding the court facilities, I would be happy to entertain that. Yes, sir?
Mr. Supervisor, Board, Dominic Ciccatelli, I'm a property owner on Merritt Street, which will be significantly impacted by this. I'm not here to argue about the need. I completely agree, and I think it's commendable that you're taking the initiative to look for new facilities. This is not it. Merritt Street is not the spot in the middle of that residential neighborhood. And And not only that, I guess what bothered me more than anything when I heard about this today was that I went back 6 months of your agendas. I don't even see this as a discussion item, not even a discussion item. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was an add-on late at night. You know, I know a little bit about boards, but this is something that significantly impacts the residents of that area, Franklin Street, Merritt Street. And I mean, I can't even begin. I know what the existing problems are on North Main Street with the court facility, and that is really, it's in need of change. What's going to happen when we introduce that to traffic on exiting to South Regent Street and South Ridge Street? I mean, there's only 12 parking spaces at 40 Merritt Street. And I'm aware you'll probably acquire other properties within a reasonable distance for parking. But this is, right now, this is a $4.5 million bond resolution. And this is only the beginning of it. This is going to be, before this is done, this is going to be at least a $15 million spend, if not more. The 222 Grace Church Street started out as a $6 million purchase. Where Portchester is, it ended up over $20 million in bonds. To make this facility work, this is going to be somewhat similar. It's going to be. You're actually a little bit easier because you're starting with a warehouse. But again, if I lived next door, and last year I sold it a couple of years ago. I did own another house across the street. But if I lived in that neighborhood, this is going to severely impact the neighborhood. I mean, I can't wait to see the traffic studies that are going to be done in regard to this. You know, I mean, I read the resolution about the the search for similar properties. I would love to know what those alternative properties that weren't acceptable were. I would love the public to have access to that. I think, you know, I mean, we're going. This sounds like the groundbreakings next month. I mean, we're going from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and I mean, nobody knows anything about it. So I mean, I would really like to see this slow down a little bit. I know it won't, because I'm very familiar with the way government works. If you got to the bond resolution tonight, I know we're plowing ahead. You know, so we'll see what maybe we'll wind up with a referendum if we could pull the petitions together. But you know, but right now, I think that the pursuit of an alternative place for the courts is a great idea. But putting it in the middle of that neighborhood, just the traffic alone exiting, not even the traffic in the neighborhood, just think of the two main roads that everything's going to exit to, South Regent and Ridge Street. Go there today at 5 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning when school is going in. It's, you know, I don't have to tell all of you, you're professionals, you're familiar with the area. But I just want to be on the record that I think it's a bad idea for this location. I think the pursuit of an alternative spot is a great idea, but this is not the place for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. They were very pertinent. And let me just say that, yes, there will be traffic studies done. And I would like to emphasize that even though we have the resolutions on the agenda for tonight, nothing is purchased. There is no contract in existence at the present time. It is under negotiation. And you saw in the resolution some of the terms. The contract will not take effect immediately. There will be a period of investigation, due diligence, et cetera. The same thing with the bond resolution. The bond resolution authorizes the bonds. It does not issue the bonds. So basically, if we go forward this evening, there is an authorization, but there is not a conclusion. I'm mindful of the concerns of the neighbors, and I think that I'm hopeful that they will be allayed. I'm hopeful actually that in the end, if we should end up acquiring this piece of property, it will be a safer neighborhood because with the court there will be a police presence, and we're happy to hear all of your concerns. We have other, you're shaking your head. Does anybody, wish to speak? Louis, let the residents speak and then the mayor.
Dan Raparco, I also live on Merritt Street, I live next door to Dom. There's only parking on one side of the street, right? I don't know where you guys are gonna park all these cars. And also, the middle school kids walk home from school every day, right in front of that building. They come down Bowman, they come down Merritt Street, they come up Franklin, Ellendale. I mean, you're gonna have all these young kids there, going to school, coming home from school. You're gonna have there's no place for us to park now. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna fit, where these people are gonna park. I mean, there's less parking than you have downtown, where people park now for the court. It's just such an inappropriate place to put a building like that over there. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. And as I say, we're listening to what you're saying. I think that, addressing so far, I think most of the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, is not an objection to a court facility, but it's an objection to it being in this particular neighborhood. Mr. Loparco made an interesting statement that I'm sure you're going to find other places to park. Well, it is our intent. We understand that that particular building does not have sufficient parking. I should like to point out that the current court facility has no parking either. So it's a problem throughout the village of Portchester. As the mayor who's standing there well knows, parking is a problem in the village. We will do our best to alleviate it. And again, addressing Mr. Loparco, yes, there were many properties looked at. As I stated in my opening remarks, we knew for a period of time that the facility there was not adequate. And the mayor who's standing there and is going to speak momentarily is aware that we were looking to expand the town offices and Grace Church Street as well. So, but the matter took on an urgency with certain things that happened at the courthouse that impelled us to move things more quickly than we might have otherwise. And also the fact that this building happens to be available and for sale. And other buildings, we've done a search, and I cannot reveal the addresses because I'm sure the owners would not appreciate that. But buildings were looked at. So with that, Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Council. Mr. Chair Corral hit the nail on the head. I'm here in half the village of Portchester, the residents. I received today numerous phone calls, emails, and I'm pretty sure you received a letter from us today.
Yes, we did.
I want to make sure those stay in the record, please. I'm here to, like I said, represent the village of Portchester, and I'm not here to tell you what to do. Obviously, it's necessarily you need a facility. I understand. I know you've been in 222 Grace Church for many years. No one chasing you out. No one's throwing you out. We have a conversation last year. Even if you delete this up, I don't think we told you you need to get out. We didn't. This is all about relationship, community, right? We're trying to be good neighbors. So probably we need, again, you probably see what the hell the village mayor, the village board is going to tell me what to do, right? I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you listen to some of our residents like I do, and sometimes we have to make tough decisions, right? And I do care a lot about the taxpayers, and I'm one of those. So we got to be careful. How do we spend the money? I pay taxes, and a lot of people, they really don't care if the taxes go up and down. I look for the low-income residents, seniors. Going back to this project, I think this is a bad location. Probably it's right. You work it out. If we will have a sit down, have a conversation with planning and us, put us input from the board. It's not only myself. And let's get to conclusion. Again, I'm not against it, the project. Absolutely not. I'm not gonna tell you why you need a court. Absolutely you need it. We've been dealing for years in that facility. The problem is Portchester doesn't have the money, so we can just buy it or replace it. And this is the truth. Since I've been in the government, I watch how I spend the money. I really do. Again, if you please table it, and I'm more happy to have a conversation with the whole board and my board to sit down and see what we can do. More than happy to help you with permits, with the location, improves, you need it. Let's listen to our residents. I know they're not here. A lot of them, this one, it was not advertised in the Spanish, obviously, and the people, they live there, and you know how's the village Portchester. And we're working on trying to fix the problem. But the parking issue is around the village. Like I said, it'd be nice, you know, like you say, it's nothing zero. If it's nothing zero, it's nothing deal. It's not gonna hurt a couple of more weeks, a month or two. Again, just my recommendation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just say with regard to that, and I appreciate your comments, and I'll reiterate, we're not buying the building tomorrow. There is time to talk if you have ideas. But I'm very concerned. I know that the situation of inadequacy has been going on for many years.
Just I want to add, point that to your comment. You're absolutely right, and that makes some of the residents to breathe better, probably, the ones that live in the area. Remember, it's a busy street, we have EMS, we have everybody around there. You said you hit it, you're not buying the building yet, right? So maybe you shouldn't have to vote on tonight. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. If it doesn't your heart, let me finish my comment, and we can visit it, we can sit down like a good neighbor.
As I say, the resolutions are authorization resolutions. There's no closing that is imminent. Mr. DeRazio.
Thank you. My name is Phil DeRazio, I'm Deputy Mayor, Village of Portchester, speaking on behalf of the Board of Trustees and myself as a taxpayer. I just want to say first that I am not against the project. I'm not against the fact that you need a new courthouse. We understand that there are some drawbacks. A couple of things you said that, before I get to my main comment, that stuck on me, that parking is a concern where you are now. But parking's not a concern as it would be on Merritt Street, a neighborhood I know better than most in this town. Main Street has very few, 3 right around the courthouse, residential houses. So it's not we're blocking neighbors' houses, we're blocking an old store and auto body places with not a lot of in and out traffic and people going in and out on a daily basis. That's an absolute fact. And again, I understand the need for the project, I do. But as Mr. Ciccarello said, I went back as far as I can find too. I can't find any notice of this anywhere. And again, we live in a community that's we'll say 80% Hispanic. Your agenda is posted solely in English, so half the residents can't understand it until they're told by somebody in their family or somebody in the area of what exactly is going on. So that amount of transparency is shorted to the residents of Portchester. You know, that neighborhood there, you have 12 spots, and let's say you do acquire 1 or 2 other parcels. Have any of you ever driven by the court on a heavy V&T day? Anyone? Have you? Yeah. You have? What did you see when you drive by?
I see people.
You see people, a line down the street, correct?
Which is one of the reasons we need a new facility.
Understood. But that line is still there until the courthouse door opens. So while the courthouse is waiting to open and people are jockeying for position in line, they're going to now be in front of Mr. Ciccarello's house, this gentleman's house. What does that do? That creates noise pollution in front of my house where I might be homesick or resting or just wanting not to be bothered by the ongoing things in the street. Litter. I lived near the middle school for years. I lived on South Regent Street across from Gassone's Bakery for 20 years. The amount of litter that's generated by a heavy trafficked neighborhood is unimaginable. So that's another issue that these poor neighbors are going to have to deal with. Then we have the amount of parking. We've just done a parking study for Washington Park. That's the area. That's part of Washington Park area of Portchester. We just did a parking study for that area. There's 1,400 available spaces in Washington Park. Anyone want to take a guess at the amount of spaces that are used? The percentage? 111% of spaces are used. So we're going to add another burden to our already overtaxed parking neighborhood. Not to mention the amount of foot traffic of children twice a day that walk through that neighborhood. Again, I don't fault you guys. You guys don't live in Portchester except for Mr. Nardi and Miss Vespia. You guys don't take the time to walk around the community, just like I don't take the time to walk around whatever part of the town of Rye is. The fact of the matter is, you don't know the area. You didn't contact our building department, our planning department. You didn't contact the village manager to ask about any problems with the HVAC or any other conditions in the courthouse. And again, back to Mr. Chiarelli's statement before, this was buried until today. Again, there's a large amount of children, like I said, that transverse that area twice a day, every day. You know, what about night court? What about night court, where people are waiting for the court to open and there's a big line down the street and the neighbors are trying to have, in front of his house, he's trying to have dinner. Now he's got to hear what maybe cursing, swearing, people getting mad because they have to go to court at night. What about them? What about their neighbors? There's no consideration for neighbors. I'm sure there's some place at the end of King Street that may have a good facility up there, but I don't think you want it there because that's Rye Brook. Why send the criminals from Portchester up to Rye Brook? Why did you explore Rye Brook at all? Did you explore Rye Neck at all? I'd like to know if you did. And again, I'm in for this project. I understand there's definitely a need. There is definitely a need for this project. But the way we went about it and the lack of transparency is unbelievable. I spoke today with Trustee George Ford of the school Board of Education, and he himself expressed the same concerns about the safety of our children. That is a heavy intersection from Bowman Avenue to William Street. There's hundreds of kids twice a day, every day, from September until the end of June that are there, right in the middle of when court's gonna be. Not to mention EMS that leaves that street 50 times a day, servicing your town, servicing Rye Neck, servicing the city of Rye. And added fact is that the town of Rye commits nothing to the EMS, but we still service the beach and everything else. So do we take in consideration the EMS's easy access and entrance back to their headquarters? So like I said, I'm not against this. I'm asking you to be good neighbors. Table this conversation. Have a discussion with us, our neighbors in Rye Brook. Let's sit down and try to figure this out, you know, as neighbors. And let's try to get this, if this is the best place, let's see how it's gonna work. Because there are zoning ordinances in that area that don't allow for all this. You know what I mean? And you will be subject to them, or the people of the village of Portchester are gonna be up in arms. Why would you be allowed to do something that they can't? So we are here to help you, not here to be against you. We wanna work with you guys, I promise you that. But the way you guys did this is unfathomable to me, that you just said, okay, we'll put it on the agenda tonight. No notice, no anything. Mr. Zuckerman keeps saying this, nothing's gonna be done, but yet you have a resolution to enter into a contract of sale for the property. So why would you enter into a contract of sale? It's not pending. I mean, so something is pending, so we just, I mean, there's no transparency here, Mr. Zuckerman, Councilman, Councilwoman. Let's table this, let's be good neighbors, let's work together, and let's come up with the right decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DeRazio. And just for edification, I believe the zone where this building is located is a C1 commercial zone. So you can put a factory in that building as well as it used to be.
And yes, there is parking requirements that are going to be needed to be met to meet your staff and the amount of customers going in and out. So although there is zoned for a factory, you're not sized for a factory via parking. So unless you're gonna take somebody else's property, that's it. Listen, like I said over and over again, we understand your need. I get it. I'm in that courthouse more than anyone here. The mayor and I are there 3 nights a week, 3 nights a month, I mean, for meetings. It is tight, it is not the best, and parking is an issue there too. But to put this in somebody's neighborhood, Mrs. Axelrod, would you like this in your neighborhood? It's a yes or no question. Would you like it in your neighborhood?
You're not here, Phil.
I'm just asking a question.
Phil, you're not here to question the board.
Oh, I
okay?
can't question the people I pay taxes to. Okay, thank you
You're
very
not-
much.
you're not
Thank you
here-
very much, Mrs. Zuckerman. Have a good evening.
You're here to make a statement. Your statement was heard. This is
So I
not
can
a
ask
cross.
Okay.
This is not for cross-examination of anybody up here. I would not deem to cross-examine people on your board
You don't
if I would
you asked
prefer.
to come, you didn't show up. You told us no. We asked you to come to a meeting with us more than one occasion, and you told us no.
I'm-
Can I read the email into record that you sent back to us?
Do you want to be confrontational?
No, I want to be
Then-
upfront
then-
with you.
We're trying to be partners. Phil, all of your comments over the last many months have only been confrontational, okay? Only been. Yes, sir.
My name is Frank Madonia.
Good evening.
I'm a commercial property owner on Merritt Street. Been there for 40 years. And a lot of what's been said here is very true. I mean, I support everything that's been said here in the crowd. I'm not quite clear of your observation about the amount of traffic flow that's going to be at that building. Can you kind of like give a little more information on that as far as numbers of people that come into court and, night, day, that kind of stuff? So
I don't have that at present, but we know that it's a busy facility. And
now that's
we will be doing a study.
that building's been a warehouse for as long as I can remember, and it hasn't really contributed to any real traffic on the street either. But it is a very busy street, as what was said. EMS is up and down the street. Commercial trucking is. So it's not a large street. There's parking on one side only, and even that changes given the day of the week it is too. So the exit going into Westchester Avenue is a right turn, so you can't take a left turn on Westchester, so that's going to be a problem with heavy traffic. So anyway, I just hope that the town of Rye gives it a little more thought before they come to a conclusion that that's the perfect facility for, this location. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Charles Hogue, 19 North Regent Street. I also work at his facility, 7 Merritt Street, and I'm also a planning commissioner in Portchester. When I heard about this, the first thing that came across my mind was already iterated by these gentlemen, that I didn't hear a thing about it. Nothing, not a peep. Rumor maybe, innuendo possibly, but something of this magnitude to just kind of float by and all of a sudden smack us in the back of the head, it just doesn't sound good to me, okay, as a resident, let alone a planning commissioner or anything else. That said, to move on to the facility itself, and it's already been mentioned, to put a building like that in that area would cause just unbelievable bottlenecking in William Street and Merritt Street. You can't even drive down William Street. It's like the old time bridges where you had to wait for one guy to come to the other guy to go. You're playing chicken every day. Now all of a sudden you're going to add all of this extra traffic to William Street and Merritt. It's just mind-boggling. Not even to mention Westchester Avenue and Merritt Street, where all of that all flow out to. You can't make a right turn out of there because you've got a stop sign on Bowman that you can't move because you've got everybody shooting down Westchester Avenue. So just the traffic alone, the study on that is going to be incredible. I mean, just to talk to us when the time comes, if and when, for this particular facility, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. So I don't know how much more I can say because everybody's pretty much already said a lot of what I was going to say. So I just wanted to put it on record that I do not think that this is a good idea. That's it.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Yes, sir?
Just one more comment. They already they're gonna put a stoplight at the corner of Merritt Street, I guess, and Westchester Avenue, Bowman Avenue, where that intersection is, because there's been many accidents, people running the stop sign on Bowman, people getting in accidents over there, supposed to put a stoplight over there. So now you're gonna have traffic coming up. Westchester stop, Bowman stop, Merritt stop. Merritt's gonna back up all the way down, right in front of these guys' place. I mean, I live down the end of the street. I live in the residential area. I live at 77, down on the first block between, Ellendale and William. But that's gonna back up traffic all the way down the end. I mean, I just don't understand. And right now, it's such a quiet neighborhood. I mean, I've been there for 47 years. I think I've had 10 kids come to my house for trick or treat the whole time I've been there. Now you're gonna have people all over the place. It's gonna just be a mess. I mean, I raised 3 kids over there, and you know my son, he used to work with you. And But it's just, I mean, it's just a quiet, very quiet neighborhood. Never had any trouble. My neighbors are all quiet. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and you're really gonna ruin it. And that's,
Thank you for your comments. The guys from CGR, I think that we're about done. I'm looking at that screen, that screen. Thank you very much for your report.
I'm here if you have any other questions on our presentation. Otherwise, I'll sign off.
All right. Any questions on the presentation from anybody? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Did we accepted the report, correct? Yeah, okay. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda matters? Anybody on Facebook?
Nothing on Facebook.
Phil?
I don't know if this qualifies, Mr. Zuckerman, as a non-agenda item. I was asked to read into the record the email that was sent to the board today. I don't know if we're past that now or not. I'll leave that up to your decision.
The letter?
The letter that was sent from the Village of Portchester to the.
Signed by the
signed
village
by,
manager?
I believe it's Mr. Stuart Rabin.
That has been received by the clerk. That's,
Understood, but he wanted that read, we were hoping as a board to get it read into the record, but if you don't want to, I completely understand.
I don't need you, that you need to read it. It'll be a matter of the public record.
I'll defer to Mr. Zuckerman.
No? You want to hear it? No? Go ahead then.
Dear Supervisor Zuckerman, the Village of Portchester is aware that this evening's agenda includes a resolution authorizing the issuance of several bonds of the Town of Rye in the amount of $4.5 million to finance the cost of the acquisition of a building located at 40 Merritt Street, Portchester, New York, for use by the Town of Rye. While it may seem curious for one municipality to request another to pause its actions, we respectfully ask that you hold off on taking any action towards this financing until we can arrange a meeting with you and other officials and stakeholders from within Portchester and in the neighboring villages impacted by this matter. Our board reached out to you several months ago to discuss the significant increase in expenditures within the Town of Rye. Specifically, we are concerned about the increase of spending and the dramatic rise in taxes, which have grown from less than $250,000 in fiscal year 2018 to nearly $4 million in 2020 in the 2025 budget. Unfortunately, our request for a meeting following that initial outreach was declined. Before learning about your proposed $4.5 million building purchase, we already begun drafting a letter to circulate among the villages served by the Town of Rye to determine whether they share our concerns. It is unclear to us why the Town of Rye is increasing taxes on our shared constituents at such a significant rate, especially given its relatively limited operations compared to our own town. Our own more robust municipal responsibilities. Pardon me, excuse me. While we recognize that the Village Board of Portchester has no formal jurisdiction over your decision, we strongly urge you delay this purchase. The delay would allow representatives from each village served by the Town of Rye to convene and discuss the broader implications of these expenditures and their impact on our constituents. From our perspective, it appears the rationale for this purchase this purchase and the increased expenditures is tied to the accommodation of court function you have undertaken. Before committing to such a significant investment, we propose exploring collaborative solutions that can mitigate these dramatic tax increases and improve shared services for the benefit of all stakeholders. Additionally, we are unsure of what studies of local impacts have been undertaken by the Town of Rye in advance of such a purchase and when such findings shall be released to the public. Has the Town of Rye engaged in a traffic engineering firm to study the potential impact of greater vehicular traffic, town functions, has the Town of Rye engaged a traffic engineering firm to study the potential impact of greater vehicular traffic that would affect the town function to be located on 40 Merritt Street? What would the cumulative impact of traffic and parking be on the neighborhood? And more immediately, Westchester Avenue, Bowman Avenue intersections, and South Ridge Street. Should the Town of Rye determine nearby properties be required to satisfy potential parking needs, could type 2 secret classification provided as part of tonight's agenda be deemed deficient due to concerns related to that segmentation? What will be the assumed pedestrian improvements the town of Rye would fund to enhance and make it safer egress for the access of this property? What impacts may the utilization of this property have on the sanitary water, sewer infrastructure serving this property? Will there be increase in flow? Is there capacity? What storm mitigation will the town of Rye develop to implement to ensure that such mitigation will continue to transpire on its own property and not impact its neighbors? What quality of life impacts may come to life in a municipal building would now be operating within the district? I apologize for all the hesitation. This is not the best written letter. Has the town of Rye reviewed the zoning code for this parcel and the neighboring roads to determine if this type of use aligns with the village's village of economic development? Has the town of Rye retained a planning professional or firm to consult on this matter? If not, why? We believe that the town must engage in proprietary planning professionals to properly comprehend the local form-based code and whether any parking variances may be necessary for the proper functionality of this property. How will the coordination of prisoners between the village and Rye Brook be managed? Is the town's intent to eventually move all government functionality to this location? Thank you for consideration of this request. We look forward to your response and the opportunity to discuss these matters and others in great detail. Sincerely, Stuart L. Raven, Village Manager, on behalf of Mayor Luis Marino and the Board of Portchester Village Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Any other further comments? Any comments on non-agenda items? Anything in Facebook, Deb?
Nothing on Facebook.
Okay. Ready to proceed. First resolution is a secret resolution. This was prepared by bond counsel, declaring it a type 2 action since at this point it's simply the acquisition of a building. We have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
After listening to them speak and being a resident of the town of Rye all my life, I think we should table this. And I think the community should work together on a project this big. That's just me. I know, Gary, I'm sorry. I know we need to do this. We need to have a building, but it's got to be what everybody agrees on, and that's me. I don't know who else on the board feels that way, but I can't in good conscience vote for this.
I'm thrilled about the newfound search for collaboration, and I would certainly appreciate not being called a criminal in publications that go out to the town and otherwise verbally degraded. With that, I certainly look forward to working with people who actually want to work with me. So if that is something that we're going to do and we're all acting in good faith, I have no problem with it.
You know, I don't think having a representative from the Village of Portchester and the Village of Rye Brook, and even if we can get somebody from the Village of Rye Neck, have from the communities, form committee, and do it the right way. That's not that, you know, we weren't trying to pull a fast one or anything, but we did search other properties. And we want to have everything all together. The problem is the court, because it's got standards and you got to have height restrictions and everything else for the, like stated with the prisoners and egress situations. I think that's the right way of doing it.
You already know that, though. You know the problems with the court. Well, you certainly didn't want to have to deal with them, so.
I would just say I agree with Councilman Nardi. I am impressed by the concerns that have been raised. Clearly, although I disagree with some of the derogatory remarks that have been made about how the town of Rye has been governed in the last 4 years, I think they're mistaken and unfair, but that's not the point. The point is, I think legitimate concerns have been raised, and I'm glad to see that there is, it seems to be unanimity that the court situation is not appropriate. It needs to be brought up to par. There's a very comprehensive report about the inadequacies, and I don't think anyone disagrees with that. And I will say that we have spent a lot of time and looked at any number of buildings, and there is some urgency. The judges on the court have made that clear, that there have been some real problems. It would not surprise me if the Office of Court Administration says that this situation cannot continue. That said, I think that given what's been said about that people are willing to explore alternatives, that putting this aside for a month is not the end of the world. But I think it's an urgent problem that needs to be resolved, and if nothing else comes up, this may be what we have to do. So I hope, and I agree with Councilperson Axelrod, that it would be nice if there is true collaboration that's being offered. I know there's been frankly, some animosity back and forth. Hopefully, what does Mark Twain say? Nothing concentrates the mind like a good hanging. And this building will happen unless there's an alternative. But putting it off for a month, I don't think that's going to put us in jeopardy of being excommunicated by the Office of Court Administration.
Yes, and I would like to thank everyone who showed up tonight. We have said time and again that it really makes a difference. I think I speak for all of us when we say we appreciate you taking the time and really eloquently expressing your concerns, which we are aware of. Again, without going into too much detail, we did look at several locations. We didn't kind of hone in on this. It is never in our intention to harm, we are here we are residents, we are taxpayers, and we only want to help our fellow residents. And if there was some ideal location, wouldn't that be so wonderful? There's pros and cons to each one. But again, I do want to thank you for taking the time and coming and speaking in a respectful way, because that's all I have ever really wanted, is to treat other people and be treated respectfully so that we can reach a conclusion that benefits us all. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
I think, Tom.
Can I make my final comment, the supervisor and the board members? More than happy to sit down, have a conversation. I don't have to bring the whole board, 3, 4 members. Let me know what day you want. Give me a heads up. Like you said, more than happy to sit down. Planning, our attorney, whatever is gonna take it. We come to conclusion, just let me know ahead of time. I'm more than happy to sit down and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we only need a couple of people from the board.
I understand.
And that's it, because you get too many people, and
Right, right.
then it goes.
The mayor and I and the town administrator and the village manager can arrange whatever meetings are necessary, and we can determine who's going to be there.
I will take the day off from work just to show up to the meeting.
And we may, bring counsel with
Again,
us.
Thank you, and I appreciate it for your time.
But
And consideration for the
all right,
residents.
Let me go into another background issue, okay? So people are aware of how we got here. Several years ago, the then administration of the town of Rye sold 2 buildings that they owned. One was on West William Street, that at that time was leased to the Village of Rybrook, ultimately sold to the Village of Rybrook for the highway garage. And they have built a new structure in that place at this time. The other building that was sold, you're all aware of, is the Town Hall at 10 Pearl Street, which housed the court and the offices. It also was sold with that was a parking lot across the street. The priority of that time was to eliminate the town of Rye. That never happened. And I'm pleased to say that the town is functioning very well, and anybody who's been to Crawford Park or Rye Town Park knows that we have made considerable improvements. We've made many improvements internally in our own operations, which we are very proud of. Nevertheless, the town is now housed in rental facilities. The court is inadequate, and the mayor and I had several discussions a year or so ago, Louis, about the town in Grace Church Street expanding into the then vacating space of Senator Shelley Mayer. The town council determined at that time that it would cost several $100,000 to renovate the space accordingly to what we would need, and we would still be in a rental building. So that is some of the background. Our relationship in Grace Church Street with the Village of Portchester is excellent. It's no problem with the interaction between the staffs of the village and the town. Unfortunately, the space that was accepted by the previous administration is also not adequate. But the driving factor is the court, as we have seen. This is a situation that must be rectified, and it can't wait 6 months. Okay? This has to be done immediately. And I'm going to let Dan Tartaglia speak in a moment because, you know, we've been negotiating a contract with the one site that we have found that would be acceptable as a court and also would be, I know the question that was raised in the letter dealt with would we move other facilities, and it probably makes only sense to do that. You know, we can postpone this for a short amount of time. I would rather not, but I've heard my counsel. And I also want to commend the residents who spoke. You all spoke extremely well and have made your point and gotten it across to us. And we will certainly take all of that into consideration. Dan, you wanted to speak. Dan is our special counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor Daniel Tartaglia. I've been acting as special counsel for the town of Rye in connection with the location of this facility as well as the negotiation of the contract. I did want to mention to the council that are looking for some more time, the contract contains in it a 60-day due diligence period where the town, after signing the contract, can walk away from this property for any reason or no reason for 60 days. It also says that the purchaser, which is the town, at its expense, can determine to its satisfaction that there are available utility systems having adequate capacity for transmission of water, sanitary sewer, gas, electricity, cable, internet, telephone service to allow the use of the premises as contemplated by the purchaser. Purchaser may obtain at its expense the opinion of a soil engineer that there are no unacceptable soil conditions or characteristics. Purchaser may review existing zoning and other regulations and other legal matters relating to the premises that the purchaser may deem relevant. And as the supervisor mentioned, we were only looking in Portchester for zones that had the permitted use of a court. This zone, C1, a permitted use is a court use. Environmental report, purchaser may at its expense obtain an environmental report with respect to the premises or otherwise satisfy itself with respect to the environmental conditions of the premises. Engineering and feasibility, purchaser at its expense may conduct other engineering and feasibility tests and studies of the premises as purchaser shall deem appropriate to determine whether or not the premises is suitable for their intended use. Purchaser may at its expense obtain an appraisal of the premises. The town, as was communicated to me, was undertaking all of these things, including an extensive traffic study, and had 60 days to get this done. 60 days is all the seller would agree to. They originally asked for 30 days, we got them to 60 days. If this contract doesn't get signed, I don't need to remind anybody or everybody that they can sell this building to anybody. It is actively being marketed, and in fact, before we looked at it, was in contract. It only, when the contract canceled, did they contact us to take a look at the building. So I think that that's all relevant information for you in determining whether you're gonna kick the can down the road and have conversations or not. You can, you've got 60 days after the contract is signed, but if the contract is not signed, the property could be sold tomorrow to somebody else. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. The problem that I have, thank you, Dan, for pointing all of that out. I tried to you pointed it out a lot better than I did when I said we don't have a contract. I'm concerned because it is my duty now that we have this report to forward it to the Office of Court Administration for them to look at it. They may well determine that this court facility is not adequate for its use. And if they determine, I said if they determine it, it's my understanding that they would move the court function to another jurisdiction, such as Mamaroneck or Harrison, and all the residents would have to go there. I don't know if our judges would be unemployed or take over the building at that point, but both the Harrison and Mamaroneck courts are certainly the Harrison court is a busy court. Mamaroneck Town Court maybe less so. Actually, just as an aside, people in Mamaroneck have been talking about dissolving their village court and merging it with the Mamaroneck Town Court. I don't know how far along that is.
Not happening.
But I've heard that. Thank you, Randy. But Dan is correct. We may lose this this property.
If we can, I think it's time that we need to do this before you take a vote.
Gary, I have there was a public comment made on Zoom. If you would, whenever you'd like, I can read it.
I'm sure it's the one Hope showed me, but go ahead.
I don't know. I have a text from Ruby looking at it.
Oh, Ruby.
Yes, this is a comment from Lodi Poli of Connecticut and New York. And Lodi writes, I live 200 yards from 40 Merritt Street. The traffic will become unbearable.
All right, thank you. After what Dan said, I'm going to suggest that we might want to have a short executive session to discuss this. Is that something that you might want to do, or this is?
No, I
Okay.
can't. After listening to everybody, I finally got people to show up to a meeting.
All right, Tommy.
And I can't. I just can't. Without
Okay.
us trying to find,
Okay, this matter will be adjourned, and I will suggest that it will be on the February calendar, or I will call a special meeting to consider it, one or the other. Louis, I don't know that you had an actual meeting for Stu to write that letter, But nevertheless, I understand that that is the feeling of at least some members of your board, and certainly you as the mayor. So I would suggest that if the Village of Portchester has an idea as to how we may address this situation, that you discuss it with your planner and come up with a piece of property for us in a short time.
It's not about that. Obviously, like I said in my comments early, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I'm here to represent the residents, the taxpayers, right? And like I said, let's have a seat, and this letter came from the whole board and myself. We had numerous conversations today after receiving again, especially my side, from the restaurant across the street, from all those peoples around that area. A lot of them, they're not bilingual. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm one of those Hispanic. We're trying to do the right thing. We live in the village, we pay taxes, we try to do the right. People, they're hardworking people, they need to be heard. That we have, I mean, me as a mayor, I'm here to listen to them and move forward. More than happy to sit down with you, with the committee. Like I said, I don't have to bring the whole board, 2-3 people, so then I can bring the message to my board. You told me any day, we have a meeting Tuesday, you want to sit down Tuesday morning before my board meeting, I don't have no problem. Like I say again, thank you for your time and thank you for care about the residents, but people who pay taxes. That's what it's all about, politicians, to listen to them.
Gary,
Like,
I have a thought. If we passed a resolution that authorized you, in your discretion, gave you the authority to sign the contract, and obviously the contract has 60 days in it, a 60-day window, it doesn't begin to run until you sign the contract.
That's correct.
And that would, I think, give you the opportunity to have the meetings with the community. You would be able to determine if it makes sense, if you have a sense that real progress can be made. If not, you can sign the contract and get the 60-day window going. Because I understand from Dan has raised the concern that the only property that the town has been able to locate after a diligent search might slip away. So there may be a way to, for you to, if you think things aren't going the right way in terms of making progress, to sign the contract that would still have a 60-day window. I just throw that out there.
Well, thank you, Randy. That's what I was trying to throw out. The contract has a 60-day window after I sign the contract. We do not yet even have a final contract that has been accepted by the seller. So that may take another week or two with the terms that were set forth. So there might not be a contract. But yes, the 60-day window starts when I believe, Dan, not when I sign the contract, but when it's returned. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So the chances are that there will be a larger window than 60 days from tonight.
And I would just say for myself, hearing what the people in the area have said, that if in fact it is borne out by a traffic study that this situation would be untenable, then I certainly personally would not want to impose that on any neighborhood.
You know, as soon as he gets that contract, he's signing it. Because he already had one failure for it. They went to buy the building and it collapsed. That's the reason why we were able to get it. I really want to do make sure, working with the villages and make sure that we get the right place. Maybe working with them, maybe the village has, it might know a location within the village that we might have overlooked. That's the only thing I have. So,
if you allow it. Again, just to reiterate, we do want to work with you, and in your email, either tonight or tomorrow morning, you will have an invitation from our village manager setting up just in contact with him, setting up a meeting as early as Monday morning, if you would like. Although I believe Monday morning is a holiday, so that would be Tuesday morning. So we could do it Tuesday, we could even meet tomorrow afternoon if need be. We are ready to meet at the ready, but we also would like to invite Mayor Klein and a constituent from the village of Mamaroneck to come out and give us some input and some idea. I know this court basically serves the village of Portchester and Rye Brook. We understand that, but we're ready to work as soon as tomorrow if need be. Lastly, why are we only looking in Portchester? We have Mamaroneck and Rye Brook too. I mean, let's explore some other opportunities. Let's spread the wealth around.
You don't think we have?
I don't know, because you won't tell us, so I don't know. I believe if you say it, I believe it. But we're ready to work as soon as tomorrow. We can have a meeting as soon as tomorrow if the village is ready.
We did look in Rye Brook, but Rye Brook is very limited on commercial space.
Understood.
Very limited.
Understood. Like I said, just so the public is aware, the village of Portchester is willing to meet as early as tomorrow afternoon. If the town of Rye is ready, we can have a preliminary meeting, and we can move on. Look, we may find out that this very well may be the best place, and that's it. If it's the best place, it's the best place. We understand that. But right now, living and growing up in that area, I'm telling you, and seeing what I see every day in that neighborhood, it's not the best place for these gentlemen. Not the best place for anybody. But again, if that's what turns out to be, let's explore every other option, every opportunity, get our parking study done, get our traffic study done, our environmental impact studies done, our water mitigation studies done, everything we can do, have all our ducks in a row, and let's move on. So again, the invitation is open to meet as early as tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tommy, Randy made a suggestion. You are not in favor of that suggestion?
No, because I know that guy's gonna sign, as soon as he gets it, he's signing it.
But we don't have a contract to sign.
Well,
So how can he sign a contract when he hasn't even sent it, an accepted
I
copy
read-
back? Not only that, but we can't sign anything until we pass the environmental resolution and the bond resolution. Otherwise, we can't bond for whatever we buy. So if we don't bond it,
all right, we do the
Can't buy it.
resolutions for the bond and stuff to get those, can we get those done before we get those done first? So we know what's going on.
is that acceptable, Dan? Can we do that?
Do those first.
Can we do we can do the bond resolution and hold off on the acquisition resolution.
Yeah, that was, when I made the motion, I had intended to, the secret resolution, but not necessarily, but things kind of.
No, we're just doing we have to do each resolution
Right.
individually.
So.
Okay,
I
so-
would maintain my motion
Okay.
in that particular.
So Jill made the motion for the seeker. Did we have a second or not?
We didn't, non-certified.
On the seeker?
On the seeker, this is hold on a second,
It's 6.2.
page 62?
6.2.
6.2.
It is also page 62 and 63.
The town is the lead agency, it's a type 2. I'll second that.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Mr. Nardi?
Yes, because that's
Okay.
the environmental
Hope-
study, sure.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you. And now the bond resolution, which does contain a provision for a permissive referendum and which must be executed prior to the execution of any purchase contract. It only authorizes us to go to bond and will only be effective if we have a contract.
If we find a different location, will that bond still be effective?
If it's for 4.5, but,
Okay.
Is that right?
No.
no, it says 40 Merritt. We'll probably have to pass a new resolution.
Yeah.
But this way, if the bond resolution is passed, we can then move forward to purchase it if we so desire, and after we meet with the Village of Portchester.
I'd rather wait and see if we're gonna go through with this than go for a bond that's just for the one location. I mean, if we were able to, just for the bond for the acquisition of a building, but I realize that's for only
Do you
four.
wanna table it and have a
Yeah,
special
I'd rather
meeting
table- yeah.
Prior to, not wait the month, do we have any kind of leeway time-wise to meet?
I'm just confused about something. What would be the advantage of passing the bond resolution now when we're
Not doing a
holding off on authorizing the contract, which I thought Tommy was, what, I'm just
Well,
not sure
we
what
would-
what the point is.
We would be authorizing the bond, and look, I think that,
I mean, is that to show the seller that we're very serious? Is that?
yeah,
the point?
that's one reason. But if we're not gonna do it, you have a comment, Jeff?
No, I just think much of this discussion should be considered for executive session, as we're getting into detail on contract terms. That's
Well, I'm just mentioning about-
reserved for executive session.
Well, Councilman Nardi is unwilling at this point to enter into any other resolution. So an executive session would not suffice. Okay? So those resolutions are tabled. I'll check with bond counsel if we have to do a new seeker for that, in which case we would. All right.
So we gotta move on it and find a place. If it's not, and if we can't find a place, then it's gonna be 40 Merritt. Okay?
If 40 Merritt is still available.
If it's still available.
Again, you can reach us, let me know when you're available, more than happy to sit down. I will notify my staff. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Next item on the agenda is a resolution renewing the agreement with PKF O'Connor Davies as our professional auditors. May I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Debbie, what are the rates are the same?
It's a modest year-over escalation, I think between 4% and 5%.
And this is for the years ending December 31st, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
Correct,
So we don't have to do this for a few years.
right.
Good. Okay. We had a motion and a second? Motion and a second, please.
Yeah,
Or you
I
could
moved
Yeah.
it,
Tom.
yeah.
Yes, I'm
second.
sorry.
Okay. Hope,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod? Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer? Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. Resolution to adopt the 2025 amended and updated personnel policy. Debbie, talk about
Yes,
this.
this personnel policy, we're not making any material changes to the personnel policy. We changed wording such as confidential secretary to the supervisor is now worded as town administrator. But we're not making any substantial changes. It's just good practice to adopt personnel policies on a regular basis. That's what we're doing.
Motion and a second, please.
Second.
Hope, call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. Resolution to adopt the 2025 procurement policy again.
Same story. It's good, it's sound management practice to adopt the procurement policy on an annual basis, and so we have it up for readoption. There are no changes from last year's resolution, last year's policy.
Okay, motion and a second,
I'll
please.
make the motion.
Call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes, resolution appointing James Carrieri as part-time Rye Town Constable.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Oh, please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
And
And I raise the question that I do from time to time. That seems like the kind of motion that we could just all in favor of, but I never quite know what
We
the
could.
dividing line is, but it
Well,
doesn't really-
normally the dividing line is whether money is involved.
Right.
In this case, I felt like,
It's okay.
you know,
It's okay.
Hope is on a roll calling the roll,
I'm
so.
being,
We don't want James to, we want him, you know, to know we're all on board, so.
I apologize.
Did you vote?
I did.
Yes,
Oh.
you did.
I apologize for.
Okay. Resolution to appoint Anthony Provenzano to serve as Rye-Town liaison to the Westchester County Airport Advisory Board.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
call the roll. Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. Okay, that finishes our resolutions. We have our reports. Charlie's right here, in person. Oh, my God.
There's no report, it's just want to give a reminder out that the assessor's office sent out renewal applications for senior exemptions. They're all due May 1st. If you didn't receive one, reach out to us, we'd be happy to send you another one, or if you want to stop in the office or go to our website, we have it on our website. But if you have any questions, just reach out to our office and we'll make sure you get your application. Deadline's May 1st. That's all we have for this month.
Thank you. And, thank you, Charlie. I didn't have a chance to forward your tax cert summary, which I will do as soon as I remember to do it.
Sounds good.
Thank you. I'm going to skip to the receiver of taxes.
Oh, here she is.
In 4 days? That's unfair, though.
I just wanted to give you a chance to get up there. Hello, Carla.
Not really much to talk about. We sent out delinquent bills for Village of Portchester today for anyone that hasn't paid as of 12/31/2024. Thank you, Debbie. The second installment for the Village of Rye Brook bills are at the printer. They'll probably go out next week. And just residents, please come and pay your bills. It's very important so you don't get penalized. School bills. School bills are due by the end of January, or there's a 10% penalty. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Carla.
Sure.
We're working backwards. Davey, you're going to go next.
Nothing, report was submitted for the tax receivables report at the year end. And it's 0.58% of the tax levies, which is about 232 million for '24. So we're in good shape there at year end. So we won't have to reserve a lot of the delinquent receivables for the audit. The auditors were in today for their preliminary audit work. They'll be back in February to do their week's worth of field work, and everything's working well.
That's it?
That's it.
How about the interim receivables?
Yeah, and in total, there's been no change from November. There's 5 properties from '24, and there's 2 properties from '23 and 3 others, so 10 total properties that are in REM classified that are outstanding.
I thought it was 7. Where'd the other 3 come from?
well, there's 5 for 2024. They
Yeah.
were pulled off because there was a partial payment made in October, but they were put back on because it wasn't a full payment. So there's 5 from the class of '24 that are outstanding and that are listed on Schedule C.
And 2 from 23 in
2
Schedule
from
B?
23 that are still outstanding, right.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, just a comment.
Mhm.
Davey pointed out that the tax delinquency rate is down to 0.58%, which anything under 2 is good. We are,
By the end of the year, if we get to about 1.5%, that's considered good. If we get to 1%, that's considered great. Less than that point is excellent.
thank you.
So,
While, before we get to Crawford, Jeff, since we spoke about in REM, do you want to talk about town of,
Not here.
where'd he go?
He heard you were gonna call on him.
Forget it. You'll go after. Do Crawford Park.
He's ready. Sorry, I didn't know I was being called. Hi, I'm Jeff Binder. I'm the town attorney for the town of Rye. What's your report?
Talk about the in-rems, please.
Oh, yes, we are making, this is serious. The town of Rye is pursuing legal action against about 7 in-rem properties. We have drafted the petition, we filed it with the county clerk, and we're just about to serve all the property owners and all the necessary parties. There will be a hearing date in February that the court, under a slightly new procedure now, the court on its own will be notifying the property owners, in addition to my service of process on property owners, as to a court date in February, in late February. So the property owners should be getting notice.
That's great. That is wonderful.
Seems to be a
Once
slightly
they-
expedited process.
Once they get to court, that will expedite the payment if they can make it. They'll realize
one
it's
would hope.
serious.
One would hope.
Okay, very good, thank
Thank
you. And I think,
Great
is it-
report.
yeah. Is it appropriate that we post on our website as well? I think it would be a good idea.
I have no objection to that whatsoever at this point. Everything is public.
Okay.
Jeff, will you send me what it is that you want posted?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And now, always our high point. Thank you, Jeff. Crawford Park,
Hi, everyone.
hi Candy.
So Crawford Park's end of the year report. So this is, the private events that we had for this year versus last year and the waived fees that we had from schools, from the Cub Scouts, pretty much anyone the teachers that come in from Portchester, Rybrook, the village, that use our facility from the year. These are our numbers. And compared to last year, we had 621 from last year, and then this year we had 782. So it was a lot more this year than last year, our facility being used. So here is the breakdown of private events from resident, non-resident, from the municipalities and schools, how many public events we had here at Crawford, in addition to the programs that we have that are inside the building and also outside.
These are co-sponsored programs, right?
Yes, they are.
Candy, what do you classify as a public event? Is that something like Rybrook Days?
Our concerts, our movies, the holiday lights, the Halloween trunk or treat, those are the Crawfords.
So I'm going to reveal my ignorance. Question I should have asked long before. What is a fiddlehead?
You can actually eat it.
That's my next question.
You
It's-
can actually eat it, but it's like a vegetable.
It's a fern.
Yeah. But you can't eat it.
But in this case,
It's a cooking class.
A cooking class.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything that they cook, they pretty much use it like vegetables, and it's the children cutting up the vegetables and
A
the
kids
teacher.
program.
Yeah. So it's like kids from elementary, and then the second group is from high school, and then sometimes she does have a little older from out of high school, but for now she has mostly elementary and middle school and high school students in her cooking class.
And I'm going to guess, is pitch gladiators like a soccer pitch?
Yes, it is. Yes.
And there some sort of games?
Well, they have practice here.
Practice.
Yeah. So they use our fields in addition to other groups, but they are one of the sponsored programs that we have there.
And chess is the one where you move the little pieces around.
I'm not sure if you saw them here earlier. They're here twice a week.
No, chess is great.
Mhm.
I'm really proud of these events. I think we're doing a great job, none of which really occurred before we renovated the mansion.
Right, and that's why, frankly, the comments that were made before were
Mrs. Crawford would be very happy.
Misplaced?
Misplaced is a good word.
So, I think that, you know, the staff is doing a wonderful job with Crawford Park. Thank you, Candy. Thank you to all the attendants.
Before I end my report, we have one more. We have the starting of our winter concerts. The first one will be in February, where Westchester Philharmonic will be here. And then they have 2 additional concerts, one in March and May. And then we have the free concerts that are also in the winter series, which is also in March, April, and in June.
And by the way, I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say your concoction, your Christmas concoction was greatly enjoyed. And one of my sons considers himself an aficionado of cocktails, and he thought it was great. You're free to make every day.
Well,
Like,
I actually made the
maybe-
chocolate one. That was really good.
It was delicious. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is my report.
Thank you, Candy.
You're welcome.
you know, I realize, Candy, that you're not giving yourself enough credit because there's another co-sponsored program that didn't make your list. And that is the free cooking classes offered by our resident chef.
Oh, that's
Kara
right.
Tannenbaum, who we had, 3 of them last year in 2024?
2. One was in August, and I think the next one was closer towards November, I believe. So it was like 2.
Oh, and then, that's right, she did cooking decorating for the Holiday Lights Festival.
One other thing I wanted to mention, in addition to the cooking itself, we have our community gardens, right?
Yes.
Where the kids grow their own food, plants of various kinds, and then they harvest them in the fall, and they cook with the plants that they harvested from our Crawford Park Gardens.
Yeah, they picked out tomatoes, eggplants, and basil, and they used that for their class after they picked them out.
So that's great. Farm to table. All right, thank you, Candy. Vic?
As Jeff said, Vic Federico, Director of Grounds and Facility. Actually, I don't have much to say. I'm a little upset because I like going first. The department head meeting, I'm always the last person.
Next Tuesday, you're first, so be on time.
Okay. We basically, like she said, have the music at the mansion starting in February. Right now, it took us almost 4 weeks to take everything down from the Holiday Lights Festival. So, you know, plus dealing with the weather and everything else. But that's about it. I really don't have much to say.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, you have a report.
I submitted my report,
Yes, you have.
and we had quite a busy year. Now that can I mention some of the things that we did?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It's
Marriage
your report.
licenses, 569. Burial permits, 470. Certified copies of marriages,
Let me interrupt you.
497.
More marriages than burials.
Thank God, right. And dog licenses, a total of 1,992 transactions. And I have a great staff, and I thank
Thank
you. Thank
And the
them.
staff is here. Okay. Comments
That's your-
from the council? Nothing?
No, I said enough tonight.
That's it?
I stand by my earlier statements, but outside of that, nothing to add.
Happy birthday, Randy.
Yes. So Gary, it turns out that Gary and I share January 18th is a birthday. And I have to tell Gary a little story. This
By
is-
the
this
way,
will be
just
short.
as an aside, Paul Rosenberg, the former mayor of Rybrook, and Sal Crescenzi, the former mayor of Rybrook, both have that birthday as
I would
well.
like to add Maria Romuccio from our assessment department does as well.
On the 18th?
Yes.
Wow. That's
So when I was growing up in just south of Philadelphia, there was a gentleman who lived across, Mr. Keller, very nice man, who was a longshoreman, and there was a radio program in the days when everybody listened to morning talk, and he told me that this fairly popular radio personality would have a thing where he said, what famous person or notable person was born on a particular day. And he told me that on my birthday, the fellow said, as far as we can tell, nobody notable, nobody of any importance was born on January 18th. And he said, young man, I want you to change that. Well, I haven't done very much to do that, but we do have Gary on January 18th now.
Being they were saying birthdays, I'm just gonna say happy birthday to my oldest daughter, who's Amory. It's her birthday today, so.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay. There's nothing else. I want to congratulate the council for an excellent meeting. I know that there was some conflict, and I think that everything was handled appropriately. So thank you, and may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See, no cooling.
Not
at all.
gonna-